Hi everyone, thanks for joining me yet again at Orange County National. Today it's a little bit breezy, so I hope the audio comes through okay for the duration of the video. Today we're going to look at 3 common takeaway errors. I happen to have seen these within the last couple of weeks in players, and what I wanted to share this for is because with each player it was the same or very similar postural adaptation in their setup. There was the initial thing that needed correcting before we could then move on to looking at clearing up that takeaway pattern itself. Okay, so the patterns I'm referring to, the first one we're going to look at is, I'm going to go out with that yellow checkered flag up there, is that in the start of the swing, player 1 would roll the face open quite a lot in the takeaway, and it would get a little bit that way in backswing, so a little bit behind the body early on in the swing. So number 1, that kind of motion there where the glove badge points up to the sky and the face is open. Number 2 was in the start of the swing, the player would move with the upper body quite a bit off the ball and get taller. And that's typically matched with an arm and club movement of that. So as far as the move off the ball, I'm not too concerned with, but off the ball and getting taller, matched up with that arm position, not very helpful early in the swing. The third takeaway we're going to look at is early in the swing, the third player, their pelvis would move down and in front, pointing almost just, so that was the ball, it's moving down and this way. Just move this way to make it seem clear, a little clearer for you all. Pelvis would move that way in the start, so it's thrust and almost towards the target at once. So they're the 3 takeaways, and the postural adaptation, we'll just call it so to speak for the purpose of this video, is that in the start of the swing, all 3 of these players would sit back into their trail hip and then be extended through the rib cage in this manner. And what that did was it really restricted the ability for them to rotate early in the swing. So they picked up rotation, each in a different way, based on what they had available in their body. Okay, so for number 1, set up this way like that, the easiest way for them to get the club going and rotate was to do this move. For number 2, the easiest way to achieve rotation for them, or the way that they chose to achieve rotation, was again like this, was to stand up and move off the ball that way. And the third player sitting back into this hip in this motion here would move away that way. Okay, so it's just more good feedback and just food for thought around how important the setup is. So if you've noticed yourself moving away from the ball and the takeaway not being as clean as you like, just go back to setup. The correction with those players, we went back to standing tall. What a good sense of standing tall would be, nice and long through the spine, getting the pelvis neutral, and then softening the knees and working on how they bent into their setup, keeping equal bend through the hips. And for cueing the rib cage, the one that I like is keeping the ribs down, hands behind your back there as you soften your knees, and keeping the rib cage in a nice position. You can see again, I like to do this with my hands just to check that I'm not getting extended through that left side there. So they were the checks that we did. Once you've got clear on how to set up better, then it's the time that you can start working on, your feedback on reducing that movement. And in many cases, if you set up well, you're going to have an improvement in the way you move anyway, because your body has more opportunity and may choose to move in a different way depending on the task that you've chosen. Okay, so I'm going to give just a quick little few pointers on takeaway as to go off in this, just because that seems to be the theme we're on for the day. So once you're set up well and you've got into that good setup position, you're matched up, then what I would say, if there was one key point in your takeaway, it would be to match that lead arm movement with your rotation in a way that it keeps the arm, hand and club in front of your body. So again, I'm going to show you face on. I don't mind if there's a little bit of move off it, just as long as there's not a huge pressure shift into that right foot. That's matching the lead arm movement, the hand and club, keeping it in front of the body as you rotate there, and keeping the pressure at this point, just a slight shift to the right because we have more mass over here now. All right, so that would be like the simplest one that I would say that would apply to most people. However, everyone hugely different how they move and how they learn. So again, here, if I'm out here, I love this left arm takeaway. You've probably seen me use it a lot. Checking the face position there, making sure I'm set up good. And then we're working on takeaway. Lots of rehearsals in the start. Nice, doing them nice and slow is often very helpful. And then just good rhythm. Hit some full shots. Okay, so 3 takeaways there, all not ideal, but same things. There's the wind going, but same things, but same address thing to kind of look at. Okay, and then once you're set up well, then you have opportunity to work on those takeaway feels that help you reduce that dominant pattern.